AFC North, go through Baltimore. Just getting started, baby.
Let's go! Ravens flock. Flock rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Back-to-back AFC North champs. Let's go, man. Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan. Welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. The Ravens just dominated the Browns 35-10. Busted open late, man. This game was not close, really. It was like 21-3 for the most part, but the Ravens offense was so flat and sloppy for a lot of this game, and then by the end of the fourth quarter, you're not really feeling that way. So I think it ended on like a phenomenal note, but a lot of this game was not feeling that way. You know, thankful for a Nate Wiggins pick six early, and we're not going to sit here and complain about every little thing that went wrong. We will talk about some concerns later in this video, but this needs to be celebrated, man. We are AFC North champions. We're hosting a playoff game next weekend against the Steelers or the Chargers, and that's something special. That's something to be happy about. That's something to celebrate. The conditions for this game were not great. It was cold. It was windy. The refs were kind of on one. They were all over the Ravens in this game, but the Ravens still took care of business, put up 35 points, held them to 10. That is a dominant win, man. You know, as ugly as the game was for a bit, we ended up coming through in dominant fashion. Shout out to the defense who just absolutely took care of business today. Nate Wiggins starting it off with a pick six, his first interception. And then I bet you wouldn't have guessed this one, but Michael Pierce closes the game with an interception as well. Kyle Van Noy got his sack for $250,000 bonus. Adafe Owe got a sack to get to double digits. The defense did exactly what they were supposed to do against this Browns offense who's playing Bailey Zappi, and DTR came in for a little bit, but these backup quarterbacks and a lot of backup players for the Browns, plus they're a 3-win team. The Ravens needed to come out here and dominate, and I feel like on defense, they did exactly that. And then the offense, which was sloppy for a lot of this game. We struggled to get the run game going in the first half, but it really broke open late. Derrick Henry with a couple massive runs, that huge run at the end of the game for a touchdown. Lamar Jackson was using his legs early and often in the first half because we could not run up the middle. Cleveland was blowing our offensive lineup, but Lamar was pulling it, using his legs, and then finding Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman through the air. They were big today. We lost Zay in this game. I'm praying everything is okay. It is a knee injury, but if you watch the replay, it does kind of look like a knee bruise, like where he got hit. It doesn't look like ACL or anything, but I'm no doctor, so we'll have to wait for further word to see how serious that is. But that's somebody that we cannot afford to lose. Other than that, I think we got out of this game clean from an injury standpoint. I know Kyle Hamilton got a little banged up. There were definitely some serious scares in this game. Bateman got hit really hard and was down for a bit, and there was multiple times throughout this game I was just like, just get up enough and pull the starters. And then we finally did get up enough, and we still didn't pull the starters. They definitely wanted Henry to get some more yards, and he ended up breaking a big one for another touchdown. So happy birthday to Derrick Henry, by the way. And not only did we win the AFC North, but the Ravens had a record-setting season, man, especially on offense. They broke so many records today. Let's go through some standout things that happened. Lamar Jackson, first player ever to have 4,000 passing and 900 rushing. I thought at one point in this game he was going for 1,000 rushing, especially how the first half went. I was like, man, he could get another 80, 90 yards. Lamar Jackson finished with 45 total touchdowns on the season, 41 passing, 4 rushing, and only 4 interceptions, which is just insane. Lamar had 5,000 total yards and is hands down the MVP of the season. Derrick Henry also broke Jamal Lewis's single season rushing touchdown record. Roquan Smith is the youngest player ever to 1,000 tackles. The Baltimore Ravens are also the first offense ever to have 4,000 passing yards and 3,000 rushing yards. Just an absolutely historic offensive year for the Ravens, and the defense has been playing incredible down the stretch here, but their total season stats don't even compare to last year, so not really a historic defensive year, but this offense, man, has been absolutely insane from start to finish. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had 1,900 rushing yards, which is 11th in NFL history. Let's take a look at the stats from this game. Lamar Jackson finished 16 of 32, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, wasn't sacked at all. He had a 92.8 passer rating. He did not end up setting the passer rating record, obviously. A lot of that was pressure earlier in the game, some wide receiver drops. It just was not a clean game from this offense to start. And Derrick Henry, who was also slowed down for the whole first half, I think he had 6 carries for 8 yards at halftime, ended this game with 20 carries for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 6.9 a carry in this game. Lamar Jackson added 9 for 63 yards on the ground. A lot of that coming in the first half. Keaton Mitchell, 4 for 10. Not super involved, but we did see him out there more. And then receiving, Rashad Bateman led the way. Big game from him. 5 catches, 76 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, 4 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely, 3 for 38. Derrick Henry, 2 for 23. And Zay only had that 1 catch for 12 yards. He ended up getting hurt pretty early and did not return. On defense, Roquan led the way with 10 tackles. Odafe Owe had 5 and a sack, which got him to 10 sacks on the season. Marlon Humphrey with another dominant game. Ardarius Washington with a dominant game. He dropped a pick in the end zone. He could have had one too. Kyle Hamilton, I know the stats don't show it, but he was all over the field too. Kyle Van Noy, shout out to the old man. Another sack, led the team in sacks, got his $250,000 bonus. Nate Wiggins with the pick 6, and then Michael Pierce with the interception later in the game was a perfect way to end it. I know there's some things to complain about from this game. It definitely was not all pretty. You know, the final score at the end looks like we just absolutely dominated from start to finish. But on offense, it did not feel like that. We were having a slow start. We could not really run the ball at all until later in the game. I thought the first half of the game, the offensive line definitely lost the trenches battle to Cleveland's defensive line. They were getting blown up. And we had a rotation at left guard, too. I got to point that out. McCary, who was sick all week and wasn't practicing much, only played 6 snaps. Voorhees played most of the game. We saw a little bit of Ben Cleveland. So we were mixing up the line a little bit. And I just thought the whole first half, we just were not aggressive in physical play. You know, we weren't matching the Browns, which is crazy because we're playing for everything and they're not really playing for anything, but their D-line was crashing our O-line. Henry was getting blown up in the backfield constantly that whole first half. Like I said, he had 6 carries for 8 yards in the first half, but as the game went on, it broke open. We were able to run the ball a lot better. Henry had some big runs down the stretch. Lamar Jackson was great in this game. I know his completion percentage was a lot lower, but a lot of that was not on him. You know, our pass protection wasn't phenomenal either. He didn't have a ton of time, and then there were some drops. And then later in the game, the Browns were consistently picking on Brandon Stephens, especially on that touchdown drive, which was also scored on Brandon Stephens, but it felt like every single time they dropped back, it was targeting Brandon Stephens, and I understand why. You know, we got a lot of guys playing at a really, really high level elsewhere, and that's probably the weak link. You know, it is what it is. All season long, teams have been picking on Brandon Stephens. This has not been his best year. He had a much better season last season than he is having this year, so I would expect teams moving forward throughout the playoffs to pick on Brandon Stephens. And then the Zay Flowers knee injury happening in this game is not what any of us wanted to see. This was a very winnable game, and we just needed to come out of it healthy. I think we did for the most part, and we're just praying that we get good news on Zay Flowers' knee and that he can play next weekend because we need him for this playoff stretch, man, for this Super Bowl run. And I really don't want to focus on any of the negative things. I wanted to bring it up because I always talk about all the details of the game, but we won 35-10. We're back-to-back AFC North champions. We're hosting a playoff game next weekend at the bank. There's a lot to celebrate. There's a lot to be confident and happy about. I feel like the way the offense played in the first half was turned around later in that game, and maybe that's why they kept the starters out there. I know they wanted Henry to get his incentive and things like that, but they kept the starters out there a lot later than any of us thought they would. It was 28-10 with a few minutes left, and here comes Lamar and Henry back out there. I was like, wow, okay. So I think they wanted to make sure that they ended this game well and strong, and I feel like they did both on offense and defense. We didn't get to see a lot of Justin Tucker today. They didn't kick any field goals. The wind was whipping. It was hard to kick. I saw in pregame warmups that both kickers were struggling to make a 50-yarder, so makes sense. We went for it a lot on fourth down. The Browns went for it a lot on fourth down, and these are playoff conditions, too. It's not going to get warmer, especially next weekend. We got another home game in Baltimore, and then we're going on the road to Buffalo, to Kansas City. I mean, these are cold, cold environments. It is not going to get easier. It's going to be tough weather game after game, and we're going to need to rely on this run game moving forward. We can't have a whole first half where our offensive line just can't run block and we're getting crashed and blown up. I mean, that cannot happen in the playoffs, and maybe we took this team a little lighter than we should have. We didn't come out the gates, playing as physical as we needed to, but we did finish the game that way. I know what this offense is capable of. We just went over all the records that they've broken this year. This is a historic offense, and there's no reason to not be confident that we can get it done. So enjoy this one for this weekend. We'll know tomorrow who we're playing in the playoffs next weekend, and then it'll be all attention towards the wild card round of the playoffs, and this Super Bowl run gets started, man. I cannot wait. I'm excited that we are AFC North champions again. A few weeks ago, after we played Philly, it was feeling a little doom and gloom. It felt like we kind of lost the division. Not that the division is everything, but it's important, man, to kind of plant your dominance and be like, nah, we're the AFC North champs year after year. We're hosting playoff games.
AFC North, go through Baltimore.
And I think that's a statement to the division. We have a high chance of playing the Pittsburgh Steelers next weekend in Baltimore. So we'll see how it all plays out, but enjoy this one, man. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are about this game. What were you thinking? How are you feeling moving forward? And prayers up for Zay Flowers, man. We need him. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your night or day if you're watching this tomorrow. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The flock rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.